Completamente orfana di cure fino a pochissimo tempo fa, l'amiloidosi da transtiretina, soprattutto per le sue complicanze cardiovascolari, oggi sta conoscendo la possibilità di nuove cure. Ci sono nuovi farmaci in studio, uno in particolare è stato presentato qui ad Amsterdam al Congresso annuale dell'ESC che prende il nome di acoramidis, e noi ne parliamo con chi ha presentato questo studio, col professor Julian Gillmore, da 30 anni impegnato nella cura delle persone con amiloidosi. Professor Gillmore, before going down in the study, I would like to ask to you to describe acoramidis. What is this drug? Which is the mechanism of action? And which are the differences between the drugs already available for this disease?
Acoramidis is a drug which is known to stabilize the TTR tetramer. Its mechanism of action is that it mimics a known mutation that we know stabilizes TTR, T19119M, and it therefore stabilizes in vitro very effectively the TTR protein. To answer your second question about the different drugs available, there is another TTR stabilizer, tafamidis, as you may be aware, and there are also a number of gene silencers or drugs which knock down the concentration of TTR in the bloodstream, which are used as treatment for ATTR amyloidosis.
And with the two drugs which use the RNA interference, which are patisiran and vutrisiran, which are the similitudes and the differences?
The principle of these treatments is the same, in that the idea is to stop ongoing formation of new amyloid, and that you can either do that by reducing the concentration of TTR protein in the bloodstream, so there's nothing available to make more amyloid, or you can do that by stabilizing the TTR protein so that it cannot misfold and form amyloid fibrils. There have never been any head-to-head studies to directly compare the efficacy of these two classes of drugs, as it were.
Okay, let's go to the study. Which study do you have conducted? How many patients? The disease, in which phase it was? So let's understand the background.
We're talking about the ATTR-CM study. It was a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study of 30 months fixed duration. The 632 patients were randomized 2-to-1 to acoramidis or placebo, and the primary endpoint was at 30 months, and it was a hierarchical endpoint using the Finkelstein-Schoenfeld method of all-cause mortality, cardiovascular hospitalizations, change in NT-proBNP concentration, and change in 6-minute walk test distance.
Which were the results?
Yeah, so the results were highly statistically significant with respect to the primary analysis, with a p-value of less than 0.0001. In addition, 58% of the ties by this Finkelstein-Schoenfeld method were broken by the first two components of the primary endpoint, all-cause mortality and cardiovascular hospitalizations, and that in itself was significant. So for those hard endpoints, the trial was also significant. And then the trial was also highly significant across all components of the primary endpoint and across different subgroups and across components, all secondary endpoints. So, the results were extraordinarily consistent across the board, showing benefit of acoramidis in this disease.
Although there are yet drugs on the market for the disease, which we say that tafamidis and soon also patisiran and vutrisiran, because they have not the indication yet, but probably they will receive. Which is the unmet need of the disease, and which could be the space, the place in therapy for acoramidis, from your opinion?
And there continues to be a huge unmet need in ATTR amyloid cardiomyopathy. The existing drug which is approved is, as you mentioned, tafamidis, and patients on tafamidis, although they progress more slowly and the drug does provide clinical benefit, nonetheless it doesn't stop the progression of the disease. And the role of acoramidis will be as an additional new treatment, another stabilizer It may be more effective than tafamidis, although of course we don't have data to suggest that. In vitro it stabilizes more effectively than tafamidis, so one could speculate, and I say only speculate, that it might be more effective. And where will it be in terms of its role? I think it's, we will have more treatments to offer with the gene silencers and the stabilizers, and you mentioned earlier, maybe in a few years' time we'll use combinations of treatment.
So new hopes for the patients?
I mean, I've got great hopes for the patients. I've been looking after patients with ATTR-amyloidosis for about 30 years, and for about 25 of those years I just watch patients get worse. It's a devastating disease, and for the last 5 years and more recently, it's been fantastically exciting to at least be able to offer patients some treatments which seem to be providing genuine clinical benefit, and I think acoramidis is going to add to that.